unaccepting of the fact that something like gay country music even had a right to exist.
Country music loves a clean narrative, yet the real story is knotty, human, and full of secret chapters. For generations, the genre's biggest stages projected an image of small-town straightness, while behind the curtain, artists carried identities they were told to hide. That gap between public image and private reality shaped careers, songs, and headlines, and it also produced a question that refuses to go away. Who gets to be fully themselves in a tradition built on truth-telling? The answer has shifted across decades, from closets and coded verses to open interviews and red carpet joy. What never changed is the power of a voice that tells the truth in time. The more those voices stepped forward, the more the audience recognized what had been obvious all along. Sincerity sounds like country, whatever boots the singer wears. This is a story about artists who chose daylight and about a community learning how to clap for bravery without reservation. A defiant starting point is Patrick Haggerty and Lavender Country, a band that in 1973 turned pedal steel and plain-spoken lyrics into a manifesto. The album did not chase approval, it carved out truth. Haggerty knew the cost and paid it, finding community outside the mainstream when radio shut its doors. Yet the songs endured, passed hand to hand, evidence that country could hold lives Nashville pretended not to see. His courage offered a map years before the industry had the nerve to print one. He was not a footnote, he was a trail sign. Artists who felt alone later discovered his record and realized the family tree had deeper roots than the gatekeepers admitted, and that realization changed the road ahead. It showed that telling the whole truth in a fiddle and steel dialect was possible. And that mattered. Chely Wright forced the business to face itself in 2010 when she shared her truth after years of hits and interviews that danced around the obvious. The courage was personal, but the impact was public. She did not reshape her voice to fit a headline. She let the headline catch up to her voice. Ty Herndon followed in 2014, a mainstream male star declaring he was finished living a split screen. The announcement did not end his career, it gave it air. Photos after that moment looked like exhale, proof that personal freedom can open creative space. Listeners heard the steadiness in the phrasing and the lightness between the notes, and many of them simply kept buying tickets because the song still did what they had always done. The center held, and the sky did not fall. The stage lights simply felt warmer. The next pivot arrived when T.J. Osborne spoke plainly in 2021. The statement mattered, but the song, Younger Me, mattered more. It felt like a letter slipped under a locked door and into the hands that needed it most. He stood on a primetime stage and kissed his boyfriend, and the world kept turning. Some gasped, many grinned, and most simply sang along. That is how culture shifts in real time. Not by instant unanimity, but by widening the circle until ordinary life looks ordinary on camera. The significance was not a controversy, it was an affirmation that the crowd had already moved forward and wanted the music to reflect that everyday reality. He did not ask permission to exist, he sang, and the room answered back. Brandi Carlile modeled another route, the slow, relentless path of excellence that makes gatekeeping look silly beside it. Her voice can rasp like weathered cedar or ring like a bell, and her writing makes strangers feel known. She uses that platform to pull more chairs up to the table, mentoring, inviting, and insisting that talent is not a closed club. Brandi Clark, a master of detail and wit, turns small-town snapshots into universal cinema. Together they remind the business that making room for everyone actually makes the songs better for everyone. Awards followed, stages grew, and the audience learned to recognize the glow of work that refuses to hide its courage. The lesson is simple: craft and conviction beat fear every time. Orville Peck arrived like a myth carrying a microphone. The mask drew eyes, but the baritone kept them, rolling out Western ballads that felt both classic and new. Collaborations with elders undercut the old idea that tradition and queerness cannot share a stage. When a legend tips a hat to a younger artist, 1,000 permissions flicker on. Lily Rose brought a different kind of normal, walking red carpets with her wife and treating visibility like oxygen rather than spectacle. The camera loved the joy, fans loved the music, and the industry began to understand that regular happiness reads beautifully on screen. You cannot argue with a chorus that lands and a smile that welcomes everyone into the frame. Waylon Payne's road has been rougher, and that roughness matters because it is real. He has spoken about stumbling and standing back up, about refusing to disappear when the pressure said shrink. You can hear weather in his voice, the kind that leaves fences leaning and skies scrubbed clean. Shelley Fairchild described the label whispers and coded advice that told her to dim herself. She chose daylight anyway and wrote from the bruise and from the recovery. Decades earlier, Wilma Burgess recorded love songs with careful language, a craft decision, and a survival tactic that let her place feeling above gender and keep moving through a resistant era. The thread that ties them together is stubborn hope, and the music carries it. The family tree spreads wide. Billy Gilman grew up on stage, then grew into his identity with grace, thanking the artists whose courage helped him find the moment. Steve Grand shocked the internet with a video centered on desire without shame, then did the steady work of building a career past the headline. Cameron Hawthorne danced with a man in his living room because love does not need choreography to be understood. Drake Jensen told stories about bullying and healing, turning scars into bridges. Patrick Massey spoke about honesty costing him a deal and about choosing truth anyway. Proof that integrity is not an abstract word but a daily decision. These names describe a mosaic, not a phase. The picture keeps expanding. Visibility is not only about singers. Cody Allen looked into the camera and told viewers who he is, then went back to introducing stars like the sky had not fallen, because it had not. Paisley Fields threads vintage instrumentation with present-tense identity and shows how flexible genre boundaries are when the groove is right. K.D. Lang remains a North Star, proof that immaculate phrasing and radical calm outlast trends. Shane McAnally, a hitmaker in the writing rooms, keeps proving that radio makes space for any chorus that hits hard enough, no matter who wrote it or who sings it. Their presence behind the curtain and in front of it keeps widening the welcome. Because the past is coded and fans are curious, rumors still cling to famous names. Johnny Paycheck, Roy Rogers, Patsy Cline, Jim Reeves, Bobby Gentry, Gene Pruitt, Dottie West, Kenny Rogers, and Vera McKinney appear in lists that travel through decades of gossip. Here is the respectful line: unless someone claimed an identity in life or left clear testimony, speculation remains speculation. Charisma invites projection. Close friendships get rewritten as secret romances in the pages of tabloids and the margins of biographies. We can study the culture without pretending to know the intimate lives of people who chose privacy, and we should. The music does not need invented backstories to matter. There is also a larger musical lineage. Bessie Smith, openly bisexual and towering in blues, taught American roots music how to fuse grit and grace. Her influence crosses boundaries because courage travels like weather, touching any field that grows songs. You can hear echoes of her fearlessness when contemporary singers stand flat-footed and deliver the whole truth, especially when a room expects them to hold back. She belongs in this narrative not as a country star, but as a blueprint for showing up fully and letting the notes carry the weight of a life. Her name reminds us that bravery predates hashtags, and that it still sounds fresh when the band kicks in. Talk long enough about show business, and someone will bring up substances, often with a wink that tries to tie vice to identity. That misses the point. Country has wrestled with heartbreak and escape since the first barroom mic. Straight legends and queer trailblazers alike have faced the grind of mileage, midnight, and adrenaline. If a rumor says a singer leaned on coke to power through a brutal week, or turned to cannabis to find sleep on a rattling bus, the real subject is pressure, not orientation. Compassion, not caricature, is the grown-up response. People bend, people learn, and the work of recovery belongs to everyone. So what changed? The internet loosened gatekeeping. Fans found one another. Younger listeners grew up in classrooms and group chats that looked like the future, then brought those expectations to their playlists. Authenticity became a better business plan than polished denial. When T.J. Osborne spoke, the label calculus had already shifted. When Brandi Carlile filled arenas, executives learned what crowds already knew: excellence travels. Brandi Clark made audiences laugh, wince, and tear up inside a single song, and it reminded decision-makers that the heart wants what sounds true. The market noticed, and the doors opened wider than before. Allyship helped, too. Shane McAnally's presence in top-tier rooms sends a signal that great ideas outrank fear. Producers who care about the song more than the rumor create safe studios. Radio programmers who judge with their ears, not their anxieties, change what millions hear on the drive home. TV hosts like Cody Allen show viewers that the smile on screen belongs to a whole human. Managers who protect integrity instead of image give artists space to breathe. None of this requires confetti, it requires professionalism and a steady hand. The simple acts add up to a culture shift. Because gossip shapes memory, let the disclaimer be plain once more. When we reference Johnny Paycheck, Roy Rogers, Patsy Cline, Jim Reeves, Bobby Gentry, Gene Pruitt, Dottie West, Kenny Rogers, or Vera McKinney as subjects of speculation, we are describing a media habit, not declaring facts. Fame bends privacy into strange shapes. Photographs become stories that did not happen. Without the person's own words, we are reading shadows on a wall and calling them portraits. Respect demands we separate curiosity from certainty and leave room for the dignity of not knowing. That is how you honor legends. Backlash still pops up, but it keeps shrinking beside the sound of stadium choruses. A pronoun in a lyric can set off a comment thread, yet it also reaches a kid who finally hears their life in a song. A red carpet photo of Lily Rose and her wife may rile a stranger online, but it lands like a blessing for fans whose families are still learning. The best answer has been the simplest one. Keep showing up, keep touring, keep releasing. Let the work do the talking. Bigotry makes noise, art makes history. The melody will outlast the outrage. A new generation is watching all of this unfold. Somewhere a teenager is scrolling through clips of T.J. Osborne speaking softly, Brandi Carlile belting like a lighthouse, Brandi Clark cutting to the bone, Orville Peck turning the stage into cowboy cinema, Lily Rose laughing on a carpet, Waylon Payne turning pain into prayer, Shelley Fairchild grinning through grit, Wilma Burgess holding the line in the past, Steve Grand and Cameron Hawthorne dancing without apology, Drake Jensen telling the truth about healing, and Patrick Massey refusing to shrink when the room tries to make him smaller. They also see K.D. Lang standing calmly in excellence, Shane McAnally smiling in a studio, Cody Allen waving from a red carpet, and Brooke Eden walking hand in hand with her wife. The message is not subtle. There is room. The stage is wider than it looks, and the song you need to sing might help someone else breathe. Lil Nas X belongs in the timeline because Old Town Road broke every metric and exposed the way genre borders can double as social borders. Purists argued about charts while kids at school dances just shouted the hook. When he later said he was gay, the conversation sharpened. Here was a black queer artist dominating the culture and daring the gatekeepers to define country as a look rather than a sound. The audience answered with volume, not essays. They streamed the song into ubiquity and moved the definition of country closer to its core. A feeling, a story, a voice you believe. That chapter changed what could be imagined next. Beyond the big labels, many lanes now run beside the Nashville interstate. Indie rooms, queer country festivals, and songwriter circles have multiplied, letting artists like Paisley Fields and Cameron Hawthorne be loud, soft, playful, or deadly serious as the song demands. K.D. Lang remains a North Star, proof that immaculate craft outlasts fashion. Shane McAnally keeps showing that radio makes room for any chorus that hits. Cody Allen introduces stars on screen and reminds viewers that the people holding the microphones also build households. That mosaic makes the genre feel more like home. For lifelong fans, this wave is not an attack on tradition, but a homecoming to tradition's core. Country music rewards sincerity, detail, and courage. These artists ask for nothing special beyond that. They stand where the greats always stood, at the intersection of plain talk and melody. If someone insists that honesty breaks the spell, point them to any classic that still makes you cry. The spell has always been honesty. The hat, the boots, the backdrop, those are costumes. The heart is the real dress code. If the truth shows up and sings in tune, it belongs. There is also an invitation here for gatekeepers who might still be undecided. Sign the kid with the cracked voice and the true story. Hire the publicist who understands that authenticity beats spin. Program the song that makes your spine tingle even if you are nervous about the comments. Partner with festivals that make every fan feel safe at the rail. Country is bigger than a frame drawn decades ago, and it gets more exciting as that frame expands. The point was never uniformity. The point was feeling seen and making room for the next voice. When we retell this era, the chapter headings will be clear. Patrick Haggerty lit the fuse. Wilma Burgess guarded a quiet flame through stormy weather. Shelley Wright and Ty Herndon carried the lantern into the open. Brandi Carlile and Brandi Clark hauled it onto bigger stages. T.J. Osborne lifted it on network television. Orville Peck dressed it in fringe and mystery. Lily Rose brought it home to the front porch. Waylon Payne turned it into hard-earned poetry. Shelley Fairchild refused to dim. Steve Grand and Cameron Hawthorne danced through the frame. Drake Jensen stood steady. Patrick Massey spoke clearly. Cody Allen smiled into the lens. Paisley Fields kept the groove moving. K.D. Lang showed the standard. Shane McAnally delivered another chorus. Billy Gilman and Ty Herndon held the note. Brooke Eden loved out loud, and the crowd clapped back with gratitude. The crowd kept on singing. Carry this forward to the next festival, the writing room, the kid with a battered notebook. Country music keeps what we give it. It keeps Patrick Haggerty's grit and Shelley Wright's courage. It keeps Ty Herndon's relief, Brandi Carlile's thunder, Brandi Clark's sly grin, and T.J. Osborne's promise to the person he used to be. It keeps Orville Peck's theater and Lily Rose's everyday joy. It keeps Waylon Payne's testimony, Shelley Fairchild's refusal to dim, Wilma Burgess's code, and Brooke Eden's porchlight love. It remembers Billy Gilman's thanks, Steve Grand's leap, Cameron Hawthorne's living room waltz, Drake Jensen's healing, and Patrick Massey's honesty. It holds K.D. Lang's serene authority, Shane McAnally's hit-making nerve, Cody Allen's smile, and Paisley Fields' wink on the floor. It even remembers the rumors we declined to canonize, and the mercy in leaving strangers their privacy. So the charge is simple and hard at once. Write like the door is open, play like the room is yours, and sing like truth will meet you there. The audience has changed. If you feel alone, listen closer. Your people are humming the chorus you have not recorded yet, waiting for the verse that sounds like you. And when you arrive, don't apologize. Step to the mic, breathe, and begin.